Hey guys, I'm Yago Leal with CIMsystem, and in today's video we're going to discuss a little bit about Strategy Editor. So what is Strategy Editor? So Strategy Editor is a powerful tool for you to be able to control and manage the strategy options that you have on your machine for any material, any tool set, and any restoration that you have on MillBox. It is an incredible tool that will allow you to do many things, and we are going to discuss a few of them on this video. So for MillBox strategy, it is the toolpath that we are creating for the milling machine to produce your restoration. So for example, we have different types of toolpaths. So like roughing, finishing, drilling, cavity, interface milling, planing. So there are different types of toolpath that the machine will need to follow in order to produce the part that you are trying to mill. So that's basically the strategy. It is the path that will lead into your end result. And that being said, with Strategy Editor, you can manage all of those different toolpaths with different milling parameters, different tools for each material for your machine. Okay, so let's discuss about the reasons why Strategy Editor can help you on your daily basis. So the first reason is to change the default options. So when we prepare an installer, we think about a global way of the operations that we would like you to see. So with Strategy Editor, you have the capability of changing those default options and even selecting operations to work on the background. For example, if you're calculating a full arch case and you always have to select like the undercut options to remove the undercut on your parts, if you want to make them as default and you don't want to see the option to select the undercuts, you can make as default and on the background. So if, by the way, you have a new employee that is working on the cam and he doesn't know what those options are, you can make that as default and he won't do any mistakes when calculating parts on the cam. He will never forget to select the undercut options because it will be calculated on the background. The second reason is quality. If, by the way, you want to improve your quality or improve your milling times, if you know how to work with milling parameters on your machine, you can have control under the milling parameters on the Strategy Editor as well. So for example, if you want a very nice part and you don't care about milling time, you can reduce your Z-step and you have a very polished surface. But if, by the way, you care more about milling time, you can adjust your milling parameters to be faster. But just take in consideration that by changing the milling parameters, it might have consequences regarding the changes that you are applying. So you need to know exactly what you're doing when you're changing the milling parameters. And the reason number 3, it is to have access to different types of toolpaths that usually we don't set as default in our configuration. So we have options to create like cavity retention, mill with T-tools, angled cases, 5-axis toolpath to finish the screw channels. So all of those options usually are not set as default because 95% of the cases does not require them. But if, by the way, you are a lab that are meeting those type of cases, you can use Strategy Editor in order to improve your strategy and the milling operations that you're using for your parts. All right, so let me show you how you can use Strategy Editor in order to improve your workflow for your lab and how easy it is to use. Okay, so in order for you to get access to Strategy Editor, you need to go on Tools, Configuration, and you should see an option here called Strategy Options. If you don't see this button here, this means that your dongle is not enabled to work with Strategy Editor and you don't have this module activated. So if you need access to Strategy Editor, please contact your dealer in order to get more information about this. So once we click here, the software is going to display us a machine list and tool set, and once you select one of those and as well a material, it is going to pop up for you the configuration that we have available for this machine and tool set on this material for this restoration here. If you want to change the restoration type in order to work with a different restoration, you can click here and select a different restoration. In the middle, we have the groups of options that we have available for this restoration. And on the right side, we have a summary of the options that we have selected for this restoration on this material for this machine and toolset. And here we have the group of options specific for this restoration. So let's give you guys an example. So imagine that every time that you are calculating an hybrid bridge, like a screw-retained bridge, you need to select the undercuts, because if you click here on the options preview, you will see exactly the options that you will see when you're calculating this type of part in this material. So for example, in this case, we can see that we have external undercut, a third milling anatomical details with a 0.3, and a few options for the 90 degrees milling. So if every time we are selecting the undercut for those parts, we can make those undercuts as default selected, or as well even hidden from the selection and being calculated on the background every time. So how can we do it? So by confirming here, we can find the group regarding which that operation belongs. So in this case, undercut external. We can see here that those options, they are not selected, so the value is not marked here, and they are visible to us. On Strategy Editor, we have 4 ways of controlling what we want to do with each operation. So we can make them not selected and visible for the end user. So this means that every time that we calculate something, we are going to see this option, but it won't be selected as default. Then we can make something like this, which it will be selected as default, but the end user will still see that option, and they can unselect it if they want. And if we hide from them, this means that this option is not being shown when you click on Start Mill, and this won't even be an option for you to be able to select or not. So it's on the background. So if we have the value marked like we have here, this means that those 2 operations will be used on the background for the calculation every time. If we don't mark those options, this means that we are not using those operations in the background, and the end user does not have the capability of turning this on or off. So those are the 4 ways. So if you want for this part to calculate the undercut every time without the option of selecting or not selecting, we can make them as selected here and hidden from the end user. So this will apply the undercut every time. If you still want to give the option to be selected or not, but you want them to be selected as default, we can make like this. So this will show to the end user, and those options will be already selected as default. So when we click on Options Preview, we'll see that those options are already marked. Also on Strategy Editor, if you want, you can select any tool for any operation that we have inside, and even select a different operation if you want to change and improve like milling parameters or the toolpath for your case. So in this example here, we are at the finishing external area for an hybrid bridge in zirconia, and we have different types of toolpath that we can select. So we have a regular 3D profile pocketing, we have a 3D spiral for bridges, we have a Z-level, and as well we have a zigzag. So for each of those operations, we can select them and click on Assign Tool in order to select a different tool if, by the way, we want to change the tool that is being selected for this specific operation. So for example, if you want, you can change your finishing external operation. Instead of use a 1mm ball tool, you can use, for example, a 2mm ball tool to finish your restoration. You can simply click on the operation and then click on Assign Tool and select the tool that you want to use. So in this example, I can confirm my 2mm ball, and it will apply a 2mm ball here. So for this case here, we are using a Z level finishing, so I can click on the Z level and do the same by selecting a different tool. If you want to change the meeting parameter regarding this operation, you can also click on the selected operation, click on Assign Tool, and here you see this gear button. Once you click here, you have access to the meeting parameters for this operation, this material, for this type of toolpath. So you can change them if you want. So for example, if you're willing to apply a different type of toolpath for your restorations, for example here, in this case, we can apply a cavity retention if you have a T2 and you want to mill retention inside of the cavities of your cases. Or if, by the way, you are working with restorations where you have like a prep on the top and you will sit like a crown at the top of your parts, you can also use different operations, for example, like finishing stump. So for every prep that you have on the top of your part, this option is going to finish your stumps, your preps from the top, considering different angles. Okay, so working with Strategy Editor is very easy and simple. So as I explained before, we have 4 ways to define each operation that we want to use. We have the groups here, the restoration types, material list, and the machine list. So in order to apply changes here, whenever we apply whatever change we need here, so for example, in this case that we just saw, we selected the undercut to be marked as default. If, by the way, I need to replicate this to different restorations, I can easily click on Copy Strategy to other restorations. I can select here, overwrite the data that I have on the other restorations. The software is going to ask me which group I want to copy to the other restorations. I can select the groups that I wanted. In this case, it is just the undercut external, but if I need, I can select different groups here. But in this case, it's only one. I will confirm, and then I can select the restorations that I want to apply those changes. After I copy to the restorations, I can easily copy to other materials as well, following the same process. And select the material that you want to copy those configurations to. And that's the same for the machines. So if I have 2, 3 machines, different tool sets, I can easily copy that to a different machine. I can even export my configuration to save as a backup, for example, or even to import later on a different machine or a customer. And during the import, you can select if you want to import for the whole configuration, so all of the materials, all of the restorations, or only for a selected material, and as well only for a material, and as well only specific restorations. So you have control regarding what you are importing using this option here. Inside of Strategy Editor, you can also update your strategy. So if, by the way, you see a button here with a different icon showing that you have a new strategy available, you can click here on the release notes to see what's new on this new strategy. And if you want, you can click here to update your strategy. If you see this button here, this means that your strategy is the latest one available for this update that you're running. If you are applying changes on your strategy editor, you want MillBox to double check the information that you have configured at your side, you can also use this check strategy button in order to MillBox, evaluate the configuration that you're doing, and see if, by the way, it finds any errors. Alright, so this video was just an overview about how to use Strategy Editor, but if you're looking to use Strategy Editor on your lab, please contact us to get more information and training regarding this tool. Thank you again for watching, and ciao!